Tariffs could really sting in 2026. Unless Trump chickens out again. It offers little consolation to Americans worried about the state of the U.S. economy, but President Donald Trump's broad tariff policies did not significantly drive up living costs in 2025. That situation, however, may change in 2026. In 2025, the United States collected $187 billion more in tariff revenue than it did the year before, an increase of nearly 200%. The bulk of that cost was borne by businesses, which absorbed about 80% of the tariff burden last year. That dynamic is now beginning to shift. According to J.P. Morgan, companies are increasingly passing those costs on to consumers, and the share paid by businesses could fall from 80% to just 20% later this year. Many of our clients were reluctant to raise prices at first, but they're now being forced to, said Kyle Peacock, a principal at Peacock Tariff Consulting. Some companies implemented price hikes at the start of the year, while others plan to do so later in the first or second quarter. Products with thin profit margins such as groceries are likely to see price increases first in the coming year. The prospect of rising prices creates a political dilemma for Trump ahead of the midterm elections: maintain his hardline tariff stance or scale back to ease pressure on consumers already struggling with high living costs. Trump has frequently reversed course on tariff threats in the past, to the point that Wall Street coined the acronym TACO, Trump always chickens out, which trended for much of the summer. He began the new year by postponing large tariffs on furniture, cabinets, and Italian pasta. While the White House provided little explanation, the last-minute delay suggests the administration is sensitive to the political risks tariffs create. Trump may quietly roll back additional tariffs in 2026 to avoid further alienating voters. Why prices could rise in 2026. Early last year, many businesses stockpiled inventory in anticipation of higher tariffs. This strategy helped cushion the impact of levies that at one point reached 145% on Chinese imports. As those inventories are depleted, companies are now forced to purchase goods subject to higher tariffs, costs they can only absorb for so long. To remain competitive, businesses are unlikely to raise prices by the full amount of the tariffs they pay, Peacock said. But with inflation eating into wages that are growing more slowly than in recent years, companies have limited room to maneuver. How much more consumers will pay in 2026 depends heavily on what they buy. Price increases will vary widely by product and sector. Grocery retailers, for example, operate on very slim margins, leaving them less able to absorb tariff costs. Goldman Sachs estimates that tariffs added about half a percentage point to inflation in 2025, consistent with Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell's statement that Trump's tariffs accounted for the entire amount inflation exceeded the Fed's 2% target, ending the year at 2.7%. Goldman expects tariffs to push inflation up another 0.3 percentage points in just the first half of this year. One major grocery supplier advised by Peacock delayed price increases last year because of uncertainty over how to account for tariffs, which vary widely by product and country of origin and change frequently. The company has since decided to apply an average tariff rate across all its products. The unknowns. A major wildcard is a landmark Supreme Court case that could invalidate Trump's most expansive tariffs. As of mid-December, the tariffs under legal challenge had generated $130 billion in revenue, according to U.S. Customs and Border Protection. If the court rules against the administration, businesses could receive refunds on tariffs already paid, and Trump's ability to impose new tariffs without limits would be curtailed. Many companies are waiting for the court's decision expected in the coming weeks before finalizing pricing strategies for the year, Peacock said. That said, Trump and his administration have already hinted at their response should the ruling go against them, pursuing alternative ways to impose more tariffs. At the same time, with affordability concerns hurting Trump's popularity, the president has recently backed away from several proposed or scheduled tariffs, including those on produce, furniture, cabinets, and pasta. Trump has a history of retreating from his most aggressive tariff proposals. On April 2, dubbed Liberation Day, he showcased record-high tariffs on a poster board, but many were never implemented due to concerns about worsening the cost of living he promised to reduce. As a result, the administration introduced exemptions for smartphones, auto parts, and goods compliant with the US-Mexico-Canada Agreement, significantly limiting the overall impact of tariffs.